Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Law webinar series. My name is Hafsa Saskia. I'm the Deputy Treasurer, Women Lawyers Representative of East Africa Law Society. I am also a lawyer practicing in Dar es Salaam at Alois and Associates Law Chamber. So today's topic is choosing 4 strategies for developing self-promotion skills and comfort for women. As you all know, most of us always have that an idea that if you are going to promote your skills, you must come as braggarts. You might sound as you're bragging too much. So today our panelists is going to discuss on how best you can choose your own without coming off as a braggart. I'll be your host today in this webinar together with my co-host, Amina Okwaju. Amina Okwaju is here and I welcome her to.
Yes, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Amina Okwaju. I am a member of the Women Lawyers Committee, East Africa Law Society Women Lawyers Committee. I'm also the secretary of the East African East Africa Law Society Women Lawyers Committee, subcommittee for budgeting. I'm an advocate, arbitrator. I'm a commercial lawyer based and currently employed for a corporation that deals with oil and gas. And I hope all of you will enjoy this session very much. I hope it will be a turning point for many of us and a good platform to learn. So I'll leave it to my host, to the main host, Hafsa, to walk us through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amina. Truly appreciate that. So as usual, I like to remind the participants and the attendees in general, the aim of this forum is to give the participants the opportunity to learn directly from successful leaders. I also would like to urge you to use this webinar as an opportunity to renew focus, networking, acquiring creative ideas and inspirations. So now we can begin. Our keynote speaker is a member of Parliament, the United Republic of Tanzania, through Youth Representative. She's also an accomplished and driven lawyer. She also has an experience in policy research, advocacy analyst with impressive background of more than 7 years in leading and chairing CSO's coalition, budgeting working groups, in conducting strategic advising on government sectorial budget allocations and expenditures, today towards achieving transparency and accountability. She's also a professional writer and has
Have we lost someone and speaking, Hafsa?
Yes, hello. As my colleague was saying, our keynote speaker is Ms. Judith Kapinga. She's a member of Parliament, an experienced tax lawyer. Also, sorry, give me a minute. I really. Yes, sorry, excuse us. So as my colleague was saying, our keynote speaker today is a member of Parliament of the United Republic of Tanzania through youth representation. She's accomplished and a driving tax lawyer, experienced policy research and advocacy analyst with impressive background of more than 7 years in leading and chairing CSOs, coalitions and budget working groups in conducting strategic engagements with the government, monitoring and advising on government sectoral budgets, allocation and expenditure towards achieving transparency and accountability. She is also a professional writer, authored more than 20 publications, and lastly, as a strong and firm believer of volunteerism, she is an assistant legal advisor of a humanitarian institution in Tanzania, the Tanzania Red Cross Society, duties that are performed wholly as a volunteer. Please, I would like to use this opportunity to welcome Ms. Judith Kapinga on the platform. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you so much, Amina.
Okay.
Judith, you are muted and we can't see you.
I'll say you take over from here. Judith, welcome.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank ELS for inviting me into this series of inviting me into this session of the Women in Law series. I should say that I'm indeed humbled to be part of this session and to share my few knowledge regarding the theme that we have on the table. And my role was given that I should talk specifically on issues surrounding branding, around branding as a key aspect in self-promotion, like how and why is branding very important. First of all, I would like to start with a little bit rationale as to why issues around branding are very important. One, I think because the ground has not been leveled enough for a very long time. The role of women in our societies is obviously underplayed, and women in most scenarios are always expected not to be great performers. And if they are at all great performers, then most of the time there is someone around the corner expecting applause and credit for such achievements. It is like we as women are not fully allowed to claim the fruits we sow with our own sweat and hands. And it is also like we as women, we fit less in the feather of our own caps. And also it is as if we as women, our achievement doesn't solely belong to us. And for this reason, this is number one reason as to why I think branding for self-promotion is very important, because the ground for a long time has not been leveled enough. But secondly, it is a competitive world. Why do we need branding for self-promotion? Because positions that we women hold at a greater extent are created in a male-dominated world. And a good example is the issue of 50-50 representation in decision-making bodies, whereby there are national and international commitments for such, but it has not been achieved. Today, as we speak, Kenya has representation of 23.3 women in the parliament. Uganda has 34.7, and it has those for special seats and elected members. But for elected members, it's 12%. And actually, on average, for all the East African countries, elected members of parliament doesn't cross 15%. But also for Tanzania, it's also around 30%. And at least for Rwanda, it has exceeded the 50%, it goes to 62. And Burundi is 38.2 for lower house, the National Assembly, and 41% for upper house, the Senate. I'm saying this so as you see, you continue seeing why branding is important, because we as women, our representation into not only political positions, but also into institutions, into managerial positions, it's dominated in a world whereby men do dominate. But also, I'll give you an example. Since 1940, when we had the first female president, until recent, we have been having 130 women who have held positions as head of state and head of government. But among the 130 female presidents or head of government, 99 of them couldn't cross 5 years after they've been sworn into office. and only 22 could make it to 5 to 10 years into office. And only 9, since 1940, only 9 crossed 10 years in office. As I was saying, because of this, we are kind of comfortable with men-dominated positions that are creating us women as a second class. And for this reason, I'm continuing to say as to why personal branding is very important, because it has a long-time effect of putting us women as a second class. But continuing to another reason as to why personal branding and self-promotion is very important is because there is a myth that women can't do it at all, can't do it all. There is a myth that it is not okay to have a full board of women. There is a myth that it is not okay to have a full management of women. There is a myth that it is not okay to have women as a full set in leadership entities. Why? Because they say watasutana in Swahili. They say watasutana. So a full board cannot have only women. And when you turn it around, when men do struggle, they call it it is a power struggle. But when women fight, they say in Swahili wanaleta mambo ya kike. So because we are not yet there when everyone is okay with having a full boardroom of women, just like it is okay to have a full boardroom of men. This is why still branding for us women is still of essence. But number 4, as to why branding for self-promotion is very important, is because of stereotypes. Women are always judged collectively when a single one defaults, which is part of life, defaulting. But when men are defaulting, it is always judged by singling that one person. In Swahili, we will say, akiharibu mwanamke, they say, ndio zao hao, because they're women. But when a man is defaulting, it is just single to one particular person. And so I'm saying this because I think branding is important, and if it is not so, packaging oneself is going to be very difficult into getting opportunities, and sometimes even opportunities can be achieved strenuously because of the way we women are judged. And having said as to why branding is so important as the way I think, I should say now, how are we supposed to brand ourselves? Self-promotion can be very much unnerving and disconcerting. There can't be a single path in self-branding. There can't be a single path. It can involve trials and handful of changes before permanently channeling to your destination, or it can involve one single shot to your destination. I'll give you an example of a very famous saying. They say that regarding Oprah Winfrey, a very influential, one of the very great people having very influential personal branding. It is said that even Oprah Winfrey began by going through several style iterations in a small local show before defining her voice into the most influential personal branding. This brings me to my earlier said issue that personal branding cannot be having a single path. It can involve trials and a handful of changes, but sometimes if you're lucky enough, it can channel directly to your destination. So with personal branding, with me, I think there are like 3 issues that are very important. 1, narrow focus. I'm saying issues that I have used or I have experience with. And 1 is having a very narrow focus. For sure, one way of having an influential personal branding is focus, because best personal brands are very specific. They say the narrower and more focused your brand is, it is easier for people to remember who you are and make direct consultation to your specialty because you have singled out yourself to that particular brand. There is a saying that says, carve a niche and then carve a niche within your niche. So narrow focus brings you and brings other people to your specific brand. But number two here, I would like to give my personal experience as a member of parliament. There is a name that most of the people who knows me call me, even my fellow members of parliament. In Swahili, they say mbunge wa mabando. Like since the first day I got into parliament, my issue was with regards to charges that are related to mobile, internet, and banking charges. And I've been talking about that in 2 parliamentary sessions consecutively. So I decided to choose my path. And whenever there is an issue regarding internet and banking services right now, a number 1 person who is channeled is me, because I decided that that should specifically be my concern, because one, I represent, I'm a member of parliament with representation of youth. And as you know, most of the young people have employed themselves in social media. So I decided that despite other issues that young people face as challenges, I decided that I should have my own ego. And I see that it has identified me among many. So having narrow focus for me, I think it is very important. Second thing is consistent investment. This can be very similar to narrow focus, but it's kind of different because we all know how easy can it be for one to be recognized when you are consistently creating content around the same thing that you want your personal branding to be. Consistency in demonstration, consistency in communication, consistency in gravitas and appearance, because consistency will give you advantage of being identified, because even a tiny inconsistency can literally delay personal branding effectiveness. So for me, I think consistency is very important, and it should be an investment that with the content that you're creating or an idea that you're having or a business that you're involved in, investing in consistency into branding, into communication, demonstrating that content that you have is very important. But number 3, that what I think is very important is living your brand and let other people tell your story. Personal branding is what others say about you when you're not in the room. And this is a lifelong project that can constantly evolve and change. Let's say, even if it's your personal branding, I believe you have to welcome time-to-time changes and evolve around to make it better. Because I believe even those with big brands knows for sure that there are no hard set rules for creating personal brand. Packaging oneself is very important. And even if you're having a lot of instruments, you're having a lot of content, you're having a lot of network, but the key issue that is going to introduce it out there is packaging oneself. But as women, for sure we cannot succeed as a single person always. There has to be an issue of involving others. There has to be an issue of collectively investing to achieve your common goal. And with me sharing again what I've experienced in my political career with regard to making it as a lifetime goal. It goes, I know, with consistency, but once you brand yourself and having consistency, it's obvious that others are going to adapt into your thinking. As narrow as it can be, that is going to identify you as a person. And so generally, that is what I think with regarding to why isn't it important to have self-branding for self-promotion. and also how we as women can brand ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our keynote speaker. That was very insightful, and we have learned from that. Maybe just to summarize what she has presented, we have talked about personal branding, that personal branding cannot involve a single path. However, there are things that one should keep in mind, including focus, consistent investment, consistency in demonstration, consistency in communication, and consistency in your work. And she has also talked about packaging oneself, networking, and she has also insisted that personal branding is what others say when you are not in the room. So thank you very much, Honorable Judith Kapinga. So our second speaker is Mr. Badru Ntege. Mr. Badru Ntege is currently the director and co-owner of NFT Consult, a recruitment firm based in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and Zambia. Mr. Badru Ntege has 30 years experience in management and senior management as both a system analyst and ICT consultant in the UK and Africa. He has a bachelor engineering, manufacturing system engineering degree from Salford University in Manchester, United Kingdom. Badru is a past chair for Africa Network Information Center, AFRINIC, and sits on the Presidential Investment Roundtable Working Group. Mr. Badru also is a current chair of ICT sector at Private Sector Foundation Uganda, PSFU, holds the position of a chairman for East Africa Science and Technology Commission, East ECO, a business process outsourcing association of Uganda. He's also a member of African Network Operators Group. He's here today to talk about silent features that recruitment companies look at during recruitment. Mr. Badru Ntege, please welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here to talk to you about the salient features that are needed. And I could not say I really enjoyed Honorable's presentation, because she more or less captured a number of areas that I was looking at covering in this brief discussion. The real issue is really down again to branding, because we're talking to professionals. You're all professionals, which means that the other discussions usually about career changes, and now comes down back to that complete personal branding conversation that is always ignored and missed out. For me, or for professionals, a job interview is really a conversation. You're not coming in to be asked a number of questions. You're coming to have a conversation. It's like the conversation you have when you're dating. If we go back in the early days of all of us dating, is you're trying to find that mix, whether there is that chemistry that binds you together and there's a shared value. So the branding conversation kicks in a lot more here, actually, because it asks the same questions that really somebody needs to be looking at, in terms of, when we look at a branding position from an organization, we look at what's the competitive offering, what are the needs of the other party, which is the employer, what are your strengths as an individual, and really that brand value that Honorable really touched a lot. Now, you as an individual, as a professional, then you need to look at how you position yourself in that context. And what is your value proposition, and what are your key supporting points? What are those things that make you stand out, make you be that different person? Those are the things that an interviewer or even a headhunter is looking for, because they actually have been briefed by the client in terms of what they're looking for, And now they need to find that value. And then it breaks down into same thing when you look at an organizational branding. We look at objectives of relevance, differentiation, and credibility and attainability. What are those things, yeah? In terms of the relevance, how relevant are you to the position you're looking for? How do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? You're not the only one. There's a lot more looking at that. Then now for the person making that decision, for the recruiter, for the HR, for the manager making that decision, it is the credibility and attainability that if I choose this person, I'm not going to be let down, and they'll come back and say, recruitment agency X did an amazing job for me, or the HR really did an amazing job. So that is their win. And you need to make sure that you can fit into that environment. The real key things, if you look at, again, that strategy, when you go back to the organization, there are three things. What the employer wants, what you're offering, and what other competitors are offering. And if you put this into three different circles, if you compare what the employer wants and what other competitors are offering, and if the other people looking for that job are better than you, then you're in the losing zone. But then you have another one where if your offer and the employer offer is the same, then you have a chance for the job. But the third one, which is even more tougher now, is when what the job needs and what you are offering, everybody else can offer. Right? That's the risky zone in terms of looking for jobs, because goes back again to where is your differentiation, right? I like Honorable's point in terms of narrow your focus. If your focus is somewhere, if your focus is aligned with the job in question, then you move out of the basket of everybody else, and that's when now the shortlisting happens. Shortlisting comes from a basket to those key areas that you actually are able to offer on the table. Now, we're now moved back into the era away from the old days where you went to your interview with tons of papers. Everything is digital. Everything is electronic. Yes, there's still those people who are looking at the heavy tons of papers, but as professionals as you are, I'm sure you're in the top area where people are actually looking and have advanced a lot faster, which now takes back to this public media called social media. Now, the thing about your profession as lawyers is it's a profession of opinions. You all have your specific opinions and the freedom to express them. And sometimes that freedom has positive and also has some costs around it. As a self-made lawyer at the top of the chain, it's like when we have a joke and we talk about our grandparents. Our grandparents are free to say their opinion as they feel, and we all appreciate it and smile, whether it's good or bad. We appreciate it and we say, Muse. But at a mid-career role where most of you are, then you have to figure out how you balance that opinion with the general. Because back in the days, we would come to a session, we would go on the microphone and say a few words, and people would listen to you and you move on. And some people might take a few issues and get them back to you later and said, you said X, Y, Z. Nowadays, you put it in print, you put it online, you put it in LinkedIn, you put it on Facebook, you put it on Twitter. We as employers will go look at that. Because if I'm engaged to find a particular person for an organization, the last thing I want to do is to present that person to the board. And in the interview, the board member goes and looks at your Twitter line or your Facebook and comes up with with a statement you put in the paper one time, thinking how awful this organization was or something like that, and it is there. So as we express these freedoms, we're now in a completely different world where what we say sticks and people can go and see it. So we have to moderate as much as we need to be able to express where we are, how we say it. We need to make sure that it balances. We also need to, when you go to things like Twitter, who's following you, how often do you update your bio, those key important things that as a future employer, they're going to look at those things. And I have known a few people who, even in the middle of the interview, they've performed perfectly. Then one of the panelists has come back and said, "Oh, I've just looked at this person's Twitter and shared a statement." And suddenly that person just drops down the chain in terms of performance. Your face-to-face interview was great. You presented, you delivered. But then now when it came to things that in your history, something actually totally let you down. So it's critical to build that profile, make sure that you can back up what you're looking at, and also prepare, do a lot more background for the organization that you're trying to join, and also come into the interview with ideas, and that might be radical, because what you want to do is you want to differentiate yourself from the other 5 people who have sat in that chair, and you want to come up totally different. And I like what Honorable touched on at times, that ladies, at times when we brand ourselves, we tend to want to, there's actually 2 extremes and very few in the middle. There are the ones that are ahead and pushing, and then there are the ones that are more reserved. And sometimes our culture makes us more reserved. But in the legal profession, I think reserved does not help you. So you need to actually be moderate in the middle, not to, I usually say for, especially when you're trying to get into an organization, it's good to get into as in a stealth mode. And then when you're there, open up and deliver amazingly. That the potential, unfortunately, there's always this threat, but when you come in stealth, get in and deliver, you rise faster than when you come in with all your weapons out. Then it becomes a little bit obviously the stigmas and the biases that panelists have will stick in. The topic that we call the elephant in the room in these days we're in is the change that we're all going through in terms of what we're calling the new normal. And one thing we need to all understand, that what we knew before, the legal profession, the fundamentals of the legal profession have not changed, but the parameters within which the legal profession exists have totally changed and disrupted. So people are not looking for the same conversation that we had in 2019 in an interview. We're looking for your appreciation of this new change, because law fits into an environment for you to deliver. And so that appreciation must actually be there. You must take time to understand the impact of this new normal or new ever-changing world. What does it have on the role you're going for and on the profession? I want to stop there, then we can build up and maybe we can answer some questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Badru. We truly appreciate that discussion on silent features that recruiting companies look at during the recruitment. And maybe in summary, you have insisted very much on being very careful in our engagement on social media, because if it does not say something in you today, maybe in future, when you're going to ask for a job or you're involved in a recruitment process, these things might come and cause complication or harm you. He has also insisted on narrowing your focus. Don't belong in the same buckets that others are also belonging. You have to show some uniqueness there. And also you have to think on what the employers want instead of your wants. And you have to also consider relevance. How relevant are you in that company or in that position that you wish to apply or you wish to get? Credibility is important. And also the interview, when you go to the interview, just think of it like you're going to a conversation instead of a Q&A session. By the way, talking about Q&A, participants, you don't have to wait until the end of the panelist presentation. There is a Q&A box. You can ask your questions, and presenters that have already presented, they will respond to you in that matter, and the questions that are left may be attended after all the presenters have presented. So our first speaker for today is going to speak on strategies that can be applied to help grow your career and rise to the pinnacle of leadership. Our third speaker is Ms. Linda Kalimba. Ms. Linda Kalimba is managing partner at Trinity Lawyers in Kigali, Rwanda, a premier commercial law firm specializing in a range of legal services from dispute resolution, corporate advisory, and transaction in sectors such as banking and financing, energy and mining, real estate, construction, insurance. She's also a corporate governance lead to the International Finance Corporation in Rwanda. And she has also served as a first counselor for Rwandan High Commission in the United Kingdom and Ireland, as well as legal for Rwanda Revenue Authority, where she significantly contributed to various customs and tax law reforms. Linda played an integral role in Rwanda regional and international integrations as one of the negotiators on the lead technical teams that worked on Rwanda admission to the East Africa Community and Commonwealth Association. Linda also holds a Bachelor in Law, LLB from National University of Rwanda in Butare, and also Masters in International Economic Law from the University of Warwick. She's a member of Rwanda Bar Association and also East African Law Association. She has an experience of more than 20 years in both private and public sectors. Ms. Linda is here to speak again on strategies that can be applied to help grow your career and rise to the pinnacle of leadership. Welcome, Ms. Linda.
Thank you very much. I'm so humbled, and I want to recognize our keynote speaker, Honorable Judith Kapinga, my fellow panelists, and to thank ELA for the invitation. Yes, looking at the subject, it's one that is a difficult subject for me, but I think the fact that I'm sharing with my fellow women, I will really share from the heart and allow me to just share how I went on my journey. I'm still on the same journey, and there is an opportunity to grow here. One thing that I can share is that in addition to the knowledge that you acquire in school or as you master, for me, I've found that the values, my values, the values that I have, that I've always had as a young child in a home, and as I grew in my faith, I found that these values have been my brand, and my previous speakers have spoken on branding. They've spoken on packaging oneself, and also to have a niche. How does the market know you? I really think that your character matters. The soft skills matter a lot, in addition to the knowledge, of course, because you may be the smartest person in the room, in that boardroom. I sit on a number of boards, very like 5 of them, but you know, the knowledge, put it aside. If you cannot communicate well, if you're not humble, how you treat people, how you convey your message and still leave the person coming on board with you, owning your idea and feeling like you're not backstabbing them and you're not feeling on top of everyone, matters a lot. So for me, if I were to share with my fellow women and everyone in this meeting, your character matters and you cannot fake it. It's when I look at my journey, and I will share, even when I was learning as a very young graduate from university, I was, you see, Rwanda is quite unique in our history. We were given the privilege to sit around the table at a very young age. When I joined my first job, I was the lead negotiator for the country in the East African community and in COMESA. If I share what really made me stand out in that group, was that I sat around people who had experience for 30 years in the trade sector. But what I did, and at the time I could not understand the skills, I mean, I did not have what it takes to be on that table at the time, but I had to lead the negotiations on behalf of my country. As you know, our history in Rwanda, we had lost everyone who had the skills, but we had to step in for our country and go in with patriotism and also with a heart to learn. So when I went on that table, I did go knowing that I do not have the skills, although I had the degree, but I was going to negotiate for my country. I sat with these fellow colleagues who were very experienced, but what I did, I went in as a hard worker. I went in as someone who could do all the work. I was the one who used to take the notes. And around that table, I learned a lot from everyone, and they wanted to take me along because I was the one who was ready to do the hard work and to take the notes and to summarize and to present, do everything that the senior people could not do. And I can't regret that, because through that, I got so much that you cannot get, you know, even sitting for 30 years. I got from all the experienced people around that table, and I ended up being a trade expert through that experience. So as a young person, if we are talking to young people, hard work matters, and also a humility. To say there is a time you sit at the feet of someone and allow to learn and allow to work and allow to serve, a servant attitude, and also literally saying, what do I know? Identify what you know and excel at sharing the knowledge that you have. At the time, I was a very good typer. I thank God for Mary Hill. We had learned how to type so fast, and that served the purpose, and I learned a lot. And what I have right now, I can relate from picking it up from the many mentors that I had around that table. So soft skills, values, your character matters. And I can go now to, at a time now where I am a founder of Trinity Lawyers. I look at the clients that I have, and most of them follow me because of my character. They follow me because they believe they will want my services, even where I say, my colleague, one of the panelists, Mr. Ntege, mentioned the need to also, Honorable Judith, to have a niche, what you stand out for. So there are many sectors that, as you had my profile, I do not do. For example, I do not do divorce. I do not do, I'm not a criminal lawyer, but you find clients saying, you know what, we want you to manage our case, get us an expert, but we want you to be the lead person who is going to manage the other lawyers. And there is a reason to that. It's because the client feels safer, the clients the client can see that you own their file, and they feel that when you're with them, literally when you're offering your service, you're offering it as if it's your service. When you've signed up to a file, you're doing it with your whole heart, and you stand out and even tell them the truth, where, you know, as a lawyer, you know, we do not guarantee success. All you do is to offer the advice or represent them, but be able to also tell the clients, you know, this right here, you need to, you know, pay the price. This is what it takes, and you stand out and, you know, stand to your word and be able to advise them effectively. And so for me, I want to say values, the values that the values and soft skills have really been an addition to the knowledge that I have as a lawyer. Then the second one would be self-belief, and I think it also ties in having your self-confidence and confidence. And when you do, around these tables that, you know, you have doors opened, you are sitting on a round table, there are times you disagree, and there are times you have a position, you can agree to disagree, but when you do it all the way. Stand out and let everyone on the table know what you stand for. And when you do not wear two hats, or you know, it's a brand. It's like how everyone has said, when someone looks at you, what do you represent? And that should be very clear, because once you understood, it will be very easy to convey a message, or to give confidence to your clients. And in this case, I'm talking as a private lawyer, and one who attracts clients my firm attracts clients that will come in and know these people are specialized in this area. They will support me in this way, and there won't be anything to, you know, doubt when they're thinking of Trinity lawyers. Now, the third point would be to constantly better yourself. Yes, like the previous speakers shared, we are in the world is evolving. There's need for continuous education, and you cannot say you know it all. Yes, you have to continually improve. You have to update yourself. There's nothing as sad as your client knowing more than you know when they've come to you for advice. So take time to research, take time to even pick on experts to advise you, so that when you handle a file, you have really exhaustively looked at all angles to be able to give the client confidence, and even manage your brand, maintain your brand, because there's nothing as bad as giving the wrong advice. Your client can be your worst advocate, and that's something that can pull you down, having risen to, you know, a level of let's say you know, if you say you have 30 years experience, and then you collapse because of one client that you advised illy. Now, the last point that I would share is to be your sister's keeper. And in this case, I'm talking of women, to give them comfort. It's always good to mentor others. And here, I'm saying we should not be selfish. There is a journey you've taken, you need to mentor someone. And if you consider yourself successful, I think the only way I would consider myself successful is if the people working with me or the people I'm mentoring are better than me. I would really find take that as my benchmark for success. So this means that the senior associates in my law firm, if I look at them, I should be proud to say, you know what, I did a good job. If so and so, you know, someone I mentored is is far better than me, then I know I have succeeded. I think those are the four areas I can share. I'm open to questions, but that's what I have to share today. May God bless you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Linda KALIMBA. I like your energy. And that was very and very insightful. So you have insisted so much on values that can build your brand. It's very important to be humble, to be able to listen and learn from others, and also about soft skills, also self-belief is very important. When you are given giving yourself, go present there and be humble and be open to learn. Invest on advancing your knowledge. It's very important from time to time to advance your knowledge. What you know today might not be very relevant tomorrow, so it's also important. So I still insist, if you want to ask a question, you can write in a Q&A session and we'll see the question, and some of them are answered directly from our panelists that have already presented as we move forward with our webinar. So our speaker, the next speaker is Ms. Jeanne Nduwayo. Ms. Jeanne Nduwayo is a renowned novelist from Burundi who has been successful in publishing several books and documents that are also used by government of Burundi, including Burundian tourism and its impact on international relations. She's also a member of Burundian Women Network Development Association and as the Burundian Writers Association. She's a specialist in project plan. She also has a degree in applied pedagogy bachelor degree in international. Their capacity to achieve self-fulfillment, work hard to be useful to the society, women's self-esteem, education based on culture, customs, and also she has also helped women in terms of literature meetings, and especially on African women writers. She has also helped. So welcome Ms. Jeanne Nduwayo, and she'll be speaking on what strategies can be used to promote one's work. You're welcome. Ms. Jeanne, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Can you unmute? Yes.
Now, how is it? How is it for
now
now?
we can hear you. Yes, now we can hear you.
Thank you. Now, Jeanne Nduwayo, this is my name, Jeanne. I'm humbled to be with you, and the pleasure is mine to be with you on this webinar on tooting your own horn. And as far as my topic is concerned, as a novelist, what strategies you use to promote your work? A novel invented prose narrative is a space of expressing ideas, often criticism. It's also a fixing memory, as Amadou Ampateba has said. This is a Senegalese famous writer has said. In Africa, when an old man dies, it's a road that burns. This is why you have to fix the memory passing by the novel. And the novel is also a way of entertainment, right? That's what I deal with my novel, Le Paillette, that I wish wanted to be translated to English. Yet one cannot expect, one cannot write when he or she doesn't expect to be read. That will be like one cannot speak when he doesn't expect to have audience. And when I write my novel, I expect to have readers from my country, my home country, and I expect to have readers from all over the world. This is why when I publish my novel, I expect to be read, and I expect my message reach to everyone that I hope will get my message. So the main strategy that I use to get results from my work is First, I love what I do. I love what I do. I love my work, and I clear out the objective, meaning I have to know where I'm going. I have to know where I want to reach. This is the main objective. And then I am at the visibility. Visibility, like to be known, that my work should be known, and visibility, like referring to earnings. So as far as the task is mine, I'm the one who is interested in, and I'm the one who have to perform it. So the first thing I do is to focus on my self-promotion. How do I do it? For home, from home country, for the first step, I organize face-to-face conversation. That is, I talk about my work, I talk about what I do, my level, and the literature activities to my colleagues, to my friends, and to the persons who are available. And I ask for ideas to officials so that I can tell them what I've done in literature matters and what I am too. This is how I make this face-to-face conversation. And but this is not very easy, because when one is talking about his or her accomplishment, or about his ability, or about his talents, persons can imagine that we are bragging. And bragging, if it can be done, it's not for women. Bragging is for men, if I can say that. But when you come to the office, when you are talking to someone, talking what you've done, talking your accomplishment, says, this lady is bragging. And someone for the customs, I feel as it's not very easy, but as I'm proud of my work, even though they're talking about bragging, I do it. This is why I make things. And as I'm proud of my work, and as I'm proud of my job, I don't feel ashamed of talking about my work. I don't feel ashamed of talking what I've done. I don't feel ashamed of talking about my accomplishment. However, that doesn't mean that I just focus only on face-to-face conversation. I also use partnership and network. The second step for promoting my work in home country is organizing public speak. I've organized a public speak event to publicly talk about Le Paillet, my novel, and I'm happy that the public was interested, and they took the book with them. This was, I feel I'm proud of my work. I said I made it correct, and I get the view of persons. I also regularly hold literature meetings, like what I'm going to do after this webinar. I organize literature meetings where I talk about not only literature in general, but I focus on women writers, so that I can make promotion of their works as I'm promoting mine. I do that. I do this literature. I hold these literature meetings at the French Institute for Burundi, and sometimes at the University of Burundi, and sometimes on the American corner, where I talk about not only literature but also gender issue. But because I'm sensitive on literature issues, so this self-promotion in Burundi is not very easy, because, as you can imagine, because even if in Burundi literacy rate is estimated at 79% among men and 68% among women, which reflect a certain potential readers. Burundian does not show interest in reading. For a Burundian, gusoma, that means read, is less interesting than gusoma, that means to have a drink, and gusomana, that means to kiss. They prefer gusoma, which is having a drink, and gusomana, but they do not focus on gusoma, which is reading. But the task is mine. I do my best to raise awareness to the youth, and particularly, and to all persons in general, so that they can so that they can love, or they can like, or they can be interested in reading. That's why I organize and I hold meetings in literature, so that persons, Burundian and the persons who live in Burundi can like reading, they can like reading, and so they can read my novel so that my work can be improved. And if I said I write for the world, I decided to publish my novel in Europe so that I'm sure that publishing houses in Europe have that capacity of network and overspread the news all over the world. That's why Le Paït was published in Europe, so that they can help me publishing or overspread the news of my novel, so that all over the world, they can know what I've written, they can get my message. And even if I focus on self-promotion, I don't forget media social, I don't forget media social platform. I associate face-to-face conversation. I also associate this public speech, and I also work on social media platform, so that all over the world they can know what I'm doing, all persons can know what I'm doing, and so that my work can be known, and so that I can get earnings by the end. Furthermore, I have partnership with local medias, which can publish articles on my work, on literature, on my literature activities, so that everything like reading, writing, or just sensitizing on reading, persons can know through the articles published by local medias. I also pass by a library where I have partnership, so that they can also make, they can talk of my work, my literature activity. And all this is done to get visibility as to be known, and by the end, to get visibility as earnings, because even what everyone do is to get earnings by the end. So still I'm working now, is not only finished on a face-to-face or on just public speaking or on working on media. I have a project of organizing or participating on book fair, so that I can meet other authors, so that we can exchange our ideas, so that I can know how to improve or how to correct some errors. This is why I'm projecting, or I'm preparing this project of organizing a book fair in Burundi, or just participating in book fair abroad, so that I can meet famous writers, so that I can improve my work. However, the most and the main strategy, as I've said, is that I love my work. I'm proud of what I've already done, and I know what I am too. Thank you for this time, and all questions are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jeanne. I can see you are very passionate about your work.
Yes.
Yes, so you have insisted about being passionate about your work, love what you do, be proud of it, and do not assume a passive role in explaining your work or promoting yourself by fearing that people will think you're bragging. She has also said about visibility. Visibility is very important, because being good at your job is not the only requisite for getting ahead. You have to also be visible and let key people become aware of your existence. So thank you very much, Ms. Jeanne. Also, our fifth speaker, for today is Mr. Bol Maduti Aye, who is currently a legal advisor of Trinity Energy Company in South Sudan. Mr. Maduti has a bachelor and master's degree in law from the University of Juba. Mr. Maduti has an experience in working with different international organizations, such as International Organization for Migration, and also several international NGOs. Mr. Maduti has also conducted several research, including refugees and displaced persons, East African community integration, constitutional law, and has authored a series of articles on East African community laws. Mr. Maduti is here to speak about practical ways for developing skills of self-promotion. Please welcome Mr. Maduti.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm privileged to be part of this session, and it's my honor to have heard enough from the colleagues and out of their experience, and the topic is very important. To save time, I will go straight to the topic of discussion. Most of the speakers have already mentioned the areas where we can use as means or tools for self-promotion. People may find it hard to talk about self-promotion, and in the sense that some members of the public may think that you are bragging about yourself and all this, especially when it comes to women. We know our African societies, some of them are a bit negative toward women when it comes to self-promotion. But then we should not shy away from speaking about this. We have to speak so that we write our own history and we tell who we are rather than the way people see us. Self-promotion is an attempt by oneself to at least to tell your capabilities, how smart you are, the skills that you have, the experience, to the others who may not know. And doing that, you will be able to tell your own story, and you'll be able to understand the environment that you are working in. I have very nice novel that I always refer to when I'm involved in this discussion with things to do with self-promotion when it comes to women issues. There is a novel by the Ugandan professor, Professor Sylvia. The title is When the Hens Begin to Crow, Gender and Parliamentary Politics in Uganda. You know, hens don't crow, but when they begin to crow, in other words, when they begin to speak by themselves. In that book, some of my fellow sisters who are South Sudanese and they don't even know Professor Sylvia, by reading the book, they were able to understand that people may know you by contributing positively or by writing something about yourself. Professor Sylvia is now a well-known activist and writer in Uganda because he's able to contribute positively to the leadership. And the recent speaker talk about the novels, you know, people may read about you and they will be able to understand who is this type of person, what are the capabilities, the skill. So, in other words, by writing or by contributing on the media through journals, articles, you will be able to make people understand who you are. The current situation that we are in is a modern kind of situation of which you need not to have face-to-face conversation with people to understand that you are expertise in this area. There are means of promoting yourself. For example, the social media, Facebook, for example, you can use it as a means of promoting yourself by posting the activities that you are providing to the community that you are operating in. For example, I'm one of the founders of one of the national organizations in South Sudan called Screen of Rights. When we started the Screen of Rights, we were targeting the youth who are always the users of social media. Because by then, 2017, there was war in South Sudan, and there was too much hate speech, you know, and people started to brand, like each tribe was given a code, you know. So we thought that is wise, at least to try to come in. When we came in, we use social media as platform. We put the topic forward, and then people come in, we discuss. Now, some of the people who has been following us through Facebook were able to know who are these guys, what are they doing. When we move on the street of Juba or other towns, like, wow, somebody will come, oh, are you so and so? Yes, thank you, you did this, you did that, you know. But the intention was not to promote ourselves, but to mitigate what was going on. But in other words, we promote ourselves because we were able to make it public through social media. The other tool is networking. Before this session, I didn't know that there is Linda or AFSA for that matter. I know only David, whom we met in Juba several times in Nairobi. But what happened now? I'm able to know some of the colleagues and is networking. And you should not keep away in a sense that people will conclude that you are bragging, especially when it comes to the females professional. Gender differences is maybe an issue, and this is due to deeply ingrained gender roles of women being considered to be in the lower status compared to men in our societies, where men is so dominant and assertive. When women start to speak about career capabilities, skills, expertise, some men may take it that she's bragging. And I have a lot of cases here in South Sudan when our sisters or our mothers start to put forward their position like we are capable of doing this and that. People may take them that they are bragging and they are not capable to do it. But we went to the same school, we went to the same training, and we have the same brain, and the gender should not be an issue. When I was in my third year law school, we were doing what we call Women and the Law. And we had an assignment of which I attempt to sit with some chiefs, the traditional chiefs. One day I came across the case where there was differences between husband and the wife. And the traditional court was not able to handle this. They were stuck and there was no way forward. So one of the ladies who happened to be part of the session, though she's not part of the chiefs, attempt to raise up her hand, but the chief continued saying that she's just a woman, what is she going to do? She's just a woman, what is she going to do? But some of his colleagues persuaded him that please give him like 2-3 minutes and hear from her. You know what? She became a problem solver rather than the chief. She told the court, look, give them 5 to 6 hours to go and sit outside the court. They have 10 years in marriage, and they will be able, if they are going back through their experience, the long journey that they took together, the beautiful kids that they produced together, they will be able to reach some kind of understanding. And 2, maybe men might have mistaken somewhere, and he will be not able to admit before the courts, before the chief, that he is mistaken. He will not be able to apologize to his wife before the chief because he have this tendency that man is above everything. So those who were present in the traditional court thought that it was logic, you know, and they were given chance to go outside. Less than 5 minutes, they came back and the man said, look, we are going home. There's no case. Can you imagine? And then the chief, who was insisting that this woman should not be given time to speak because she's a woman, ended up concluding that there's no case and the case is solved. See, now they were able to take her to be one of the members of that traditional council of chiefs, because she have that talent of proposing means of solving the dispute. You know? But if she were to keep silent, nobody would have considered her. She would have been considered as a woman who had nothing to do besides giving birth and cooking for the family. There is best practice for the self-promotion. You know, you should approach best ways of promoting yourself, like publishing your contribution. What have you contributed to the society? What is the positive impact that you impact on the lives of the people that you are operating in? If you are running the law firm, what are you doing to the vulnerable who are not able to have access to the lawyer through fees and all this? Now, by doing this, people will see what you are contributing to the community and to the vulnerable, and it will not take time for you to be considered that you are doing something. It may be hard to do so in the sense that because of current competition, people may thought that you are competing for the clients. But when you speak, what you are able to deliver, then you will be able to prove that I can do this. For the professional like the lawyers, I think we have available tools at hand that we can use to promote our skills. For instance, the South Sudan Women Lawyer Society do conduct forums, for example, to sensitize on the right of girl child education, the gender-based violent issues. Now, in other ways, they're trying to sensitize the community to understand the national laws that we have. And in other words, they're helping the government itself to make sure that people are informed about this negative attitude toward women. So the most important thing is for you to have a forum where you exercise your skills and expertise. And nobody can create forum for you. You have to create a forum for yourself. And you should not shy away that if I talk more about myself, I will be taken that I'm just bragging. Engaging in a discussion of the topic of public matters is also important. Like for our case in South Sudan, we are currently in the process of peace implementation. And from 2 weeks ago, we have South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum. They create this forum for them to come together and try to challenge themselves. What can they contribute as women to the current implementation of the peace in South Sudan? What can they do as women to make sure that violence is mitigated? Because they are leaders, they are educated, and they are members of the public, and they have to contribute. So they are using that forum to tell that it's not men who can do it alone. There are women who can be leaders. So some of the women that were considered to be just mothers at home, giving birth to kids, cooking, are now seen to be leaders by those who don't know their background by then. But since they started to speak about themselves, they are now known that they are not just women, but they are leaders. So the most important thing is that get yourself a forum and try to convince, tell that positive part that we need our community to get into, and make sure that you always participate in the public events. And one of the speakers alluded to earlier that one of the tools is through public speaking. And giving a public talk is significant, and it can be an element to establish your own brand and attitude and enhance your reputation. And the reason is simple. When someone gives a talk, the audience perceives that person to be an expert. For example, if you are given a topic in a particular area and you express yourself, then people will take you to be expert in that particular area. And from there, they will have the conclusion that you are not just there for nothing, but you can be able to offer something. The other thing is the skills itself. Are you a lawyer? Are you an engineer? Are you a medical doctor? The best practice will always promote you, and the results of your work or your action will speak by itself. My colleagues from Trinity legal firm have alluded to earlier that she always take a lead in a discussion, though there may be expert in that area, but there must be something unique in her. Maybe she's a good negotiator, even though she can be backed up by the other colleagues, but then she has to take the lead because she's a good negotiator. That one alone is enough, and those who are beneficiaries of her services will go and speak on her behalf. By delivering one positive result, automatically the rest will speak about themselves. And then the other thing is the ambition. The stage that you are now, you should not expect to be in the same stage in the next 5 years. You should at least get building your capacity by further trainings, you know. So ambition also matters. We need to be so ambitious that I need to achieve this. And one of the heavyweight champion, Muhammad Ali, had a saying, and I quoted that, I hate every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. That is Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion. Now, you better suffer in the hands of the men who think that women cannot make it than to be waiting, and it will be too late later when you are not able to enjoy the fruit of your struggle. I can tell from the experience of South Sudan, when we were in war, ladies fought side by side with the men, to the extent that they formed a battalion mainly for the women. You know, they composed their revolutionary songs, they participate in frontline. Now that history is written itself. Nobody can do away with that history because it's practical, you know. And those leaders of that battalion, some of them are generals in the army now. But if they were to remain there, not showing their skills that they can do it, I think they would have not been able to participate with their fellow colleagues, the men, you know. And gradually, we'll be able to make sure that we make people understand that when you promote your skills, that I'm best in doing this, it should not be seen as a bragging. But you are best in doing it, and practical result is seen. You know? So I think it may be challenging, but then at the end of the day, we have to look at the results of this. Why do I have to promote myself? If I promote myself, am I impacting something on the life of the society that I operate in? Am I promoting my profession? Because as lawyers, whatever that we are giving to our clients tells who we are. Whatever articles that we contribute tells who we are. I remember when we joined East African community, there was mistake somewhere whereby our members from South Sudan were appointed instead of being elected by the National Assembly of South Sudan. They were appointed, and I came out openly and challenged it through the national newspaper. I wrote an article that this is the total breach of the treaty, the East African Community Treaty itself. Members should not be appointed, and there's no way that South Sudan can do that, you know. People came to understand later when the case was brought against the government of South Sudan by one of the lawyers, a South Sudanese lawyer who was in Burundi by then, you know. So at the end, when the order was reversed and the members were elected through National Assembly on condition that 6 should be male candidate and 3 should be female candidate, meeting the requirement of the law of the treaty, some of the colleagues came back, hey, Paul, what you were saying was true, you know. And now they consider that I have read the treaty itself because I was able to challenge what was against the treaty, you know. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we have to take into consideration, and we use it as a tool when we are promoting ourselves. Otherwise, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure having participated in this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I know you have insisted on some important issues, including visibility, just like the previous speaker, and to be careful on online presence. Online presence is critical for self-promotion. You have also insisted on networking, especially in the industry events, like the one we are having right now. And also women should use their professional platform to self-promote themselves. And also public speaking is a very good platform to self-promote. It's also critical to know that what do you want to focus on while you are promoting yourself. So our last speaker, the final speaker for today, is going to be Rosie Wachuka Macharia. Rosie has indeed been doing a very good job promoting herself. We can see that from her bio. So I'll just going to read only some few stuff from her bio, and then we are going to welcome her and proceed. So Rosie is our Chief of Staff at the Office of Honorable Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. She's also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, admitted in the bar in 2011, and also a member of the East African Law Society, among other things. Rose was a part of the team that solely focused on building Kenya indigenous constitution and public interest jurisprudence, setting the court's decision as an anchor precedent and comparable jurisdiction in Africa and Commonwealth. Rosie worked on monumental cases that have shaped the relationship between the executive and the legislature and settled electoral jurisprudence. In 2016, Rosie joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Africa-wide special assignment as Kenya fronted a bid to head the African Union Commission. In 2018, she joined the Ministry of Education as Chief of Staff and Policy Advisor to the Cabinet Secretary Minister. In 2019, Rosie joined the Ministry of Sport, Culture, Heritage as the Chief of Staff and Policy Advisor, charged with the responsibility of leading the technical teams and coordinating the full operation of the ministry to deliver its core priorities. Rosie also holds some academic credentials, bachelor laws degree at Moi University, postgraduate diploma, Kenya School of Law, Masters of Public Policy at the University of Oxford, Masters of Arts in International Relations, Diplomacy and Foreign Policy. And also she serves on the advisory board of Africa Youth Movement, the largest youth-led movement in Africa, monitoring countries and continental leadership. She served on Africa-Europe platform, which monitored the implementation of the Joint Africa-Europe Strategy 2012-2014. So her bio is very long. Clearly, she has been doing a very good job self-promoting herself. So I can't wait to hear from Rosie. Rosie is going to speak about why rewards do not come from only being talented and hardworking. Rosie, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Hafsa. Just to confirm that you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Thank you very, very much, Hafsa, my co-panelists, the audience, and everyone who's joining us. Thank you very much for putting together such a monumental topic. And indeed, from what I've listened to, the wealth of experience coming from the panelists and just nuggets of wisdom is absolutely inspiring. I'm going to talk about why rewards don't come from only being talented and hardworking. And when I thought about this topic, I summarized it to turn your competence into confidence, because I think that's largely the missing ingredient. We live in an age where tools of mass communication are in the palm of our hands. And despite these advancements in the communication age, gender biases still massively limit the extent of women's ownership or assumption of agency over their own accomplishments. We are born into a culture of minimalist expression, and our early childhood lessons focus on communal delivery and nurturing others, sometimes at the expense of ourselves. We are cultured into humility and meekness and conditioned to be aware of the comfort of others, even when our own comfort may be absent or compromised. We have been taught and indeed required to be ineffectually humble. I dare say that leadership is not solely about strategic moves. It is also about performance. And I don't mean results performance. I mean personal communication as an act of theater. And I believe that you must mold it to your personal advantage. Power it with confidence. Studies in the UK and US show that women still suffer from a massive confidence gap. Unfortunately, in the world today, people peg more premium on confidence compared to competence. And we may not realize it, but we all give confidence inordinate weight, and we respect people who project it. Confidence without competence has no negative effects. And I'll repeat that. Competence without confidence is extremely limiting. So if you're confident, If you're confident, but not necessarily competent, well, you can get away with a lot of things. But if you're competent and not confident, you will be so limited in navigating the success ladders of this world. Sharon Salzberg put confidence in perspective in her book, Real Happiness at Work. And she said that it is the way we meet our circumstances, whether they are wondrous or wonderful, or really hard or difficult. It is almost like a wholeheartedness where we are not holding back, we are not fragmented, we are not divided, we are going towards what is happening and bringing our full energy to it. Now, I've spent a lot of time with sportsmen and women during my time as the Chief of Staff at the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage. And I just want to put this in perspective. And during that time, I encountered excellence and accomplishment in proportions we are all yet to fully appreciate in terms of the sportsmanship in Africa. And to contextualize my point, how many in this webinar today can name the first female Olympian in Kenya's history? And Kenya is known as the athletics powerhouse in Africa. Well, if you answered that correctly, kudos. But it actually is Pamela Julimo during the 2008 Beijing Olympics. So who can tell me who was the first minister in sub-Saharan African history to deliver 100% transition from primary to secondary education? Again, if you know the answer to that, well and good. But actually the answer is Ambassador Amina Mohamed, who served as the Minister of Education in Kenya in 2008. And that was the first time that 100% transition from primary to secondary education had been attained. Who can name with illustrations some of the most successful female athletes on earth of East African origin? Again, I will give you an opportunity to think about that. And I'm driving a point here. If you think about Tekla Lorupe, Tekla was the first African athlete to win the prestigious New York Marathon in 1994. She regained her title in 1995 and won the Rotterdam Marathon in 1997, 1998, and 1999. She also won the Berlin, Boston, London, and Rome marathons and was recognized as the United Nations Sports Ambassador in 2006. She has dedicated her life to bringing peace to communities through sport, becoming the first athlete in history to set up a training camp for refugees. Another is Catherine Dereba, known in athletics as Catherine the Great. She's a runner of great repute and professionalism and one of the best marathoners the world has ever seen. She is the only woman in athletics history to have won the Boston Marathon 4 times and the only person in the world of long distance running to win 12 half marathons. I'll continue. Malkia Strikers, Kenya's national volleyball team and undoubtedly the strongest volleyball team in Africa, representing the continent at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games, is still not a household name, even in our own country, Kenya. On November 25th, 2019, the Harambee Starlets, which is the Kenya female national football team, beat Tanzania 2-0 to win the Sekafa Women's Championships in Dar es Salaam. But who can name the starting squad or even the top scorers? Compare the responses to a similar question about Harambee Stars or Bafana Bafana or Taifa Stars or the Cranes of Uganda. I'm sure we all would be quick to name the starting squad in those football teams. I give these illustrations because I have seen great women hold back the news about their accomplishments. I have been that woman, constantly concerned about the appropriateness of thrusting myself into the limelight and denying that I have served my country in the public service for the past 10 years and delivered on major milestones. My sister and confidant, Asha Mwilu and Julia Gaido, dreamt up and are setting up a media outlet dedicated to celebrating women's accomplishments in a vulnerable, relatable, and confident way. One might be tempted to ask why it has taken so long for an initiative such as Debunk Women to be established. The unspoken truth is that the deep-seated culture of patriarchy is a great hindrance. For as long as I can remember, I have had this insatiable desire to compete, to accomplish, and to prove myself that I'm greater than I was yesterday. As a little girl raised with 4 boys, I related success with masculinity. I rejected dresses and anything feminine, choosing instead to wear the same pair of shorts every day until my mother bought me new ones to cycle. I've been called by both men and women intense, high octane, aggressive, and in their face. These words don't feel like compliments to me. So I try to control my eagerness to succeed. I try to be softer, and to be very honest, it is very exhausting. My truth is that this tough shell conceals sensitivities and insecurities that only those closest to me know anything about. I decided to ease into creating a public profile despite these feelings, but could still feel the shackles of insecurity and the voices of online critics pulling me back. And the result is that I have a string of accomplishments that nobody really knows anything about. But I am stronger emotionally and socially because I have invested a great deal of time building an internal arsenal of confidence and shedding the lessons of timidity invariably handed to me, to us, as a child. I have embraced my femininity and are proud of it. And now know and deeply believe that vulnerability indeed starts where shame ends, and that to be visible and confident it is not enough to be good. You must court unadulterated confidence. Now, more than ever, women must get comfortable about expressing their value, our value. We must own our accomplishments and dive deep into ourselves to untie the cords of otherness that hold us back from genuinely and consistently owning our marks on this earth confidently. I have developed a practice. I now keep a brag-a-log. Every day, I write down all my achievements and say them out loud to my partner, friends, and family. I have found and honor the safe spaces that I have built to shield my success and brand. Yes, you too can brag and get away with it. Start talking to yourself about it. Get a cheerleader or cheerleaders and start branding yourself in a way that is persuasive and uniquely you. But always remember that there are no failures in life, only lessons. Our modern day world repackages sexism that intimidates women from fully owning their stories in the same structure as seen in pre-medieval history. In our field of law, Mary Beard, the classic feminist writer, illustrates this same forest, different species type of approach, using the stories of 3 women in ancient Rome, whose natural conditions did not manage to keep them silent in the forum. Maisia, the first woman, successfully defended herself in the courts, and because she had a man's nature behind the appearance of a woman, she was called the androgyne. Phrenia, the second woman, used to initiate legal cases herself and was imprudent enough to plead in person so that everyone became tired with her barking and yapping. She still was not allowed human speech and hasn't been recognized to date as indeed bearing that speech and being human. The only information available about her is her year of death, which was 48 BC. Obviously, because it was more important to record when she died than what she had accomplished. Hortensia, the third woman, is however more uplifted in Roman history because her oration was always in defense of her children, her husband, and other women. She was a sectional spokesperson, but never for the society or men, because this would have offended the hierarchies of personal oration and caused her negation from recorded history. We see snippets of this in modern day East Africa. A confident and competent minister is often referred to as the only man in cabinet, because a woman speaking in public is still structurally and by subtle aggressions not a woman. These encumbering burdens upon the woman's public voice and agency are hardwired into our culture, religion, and history. And although it will take many more years to cleanse, we must rise to the challenge and tear away one layer at a time. And I cannot promise you that you will not be torn apart or derailed or maligned, but I can assure that your pain today will shield another in the future. And that is how stubborn norms are destroyed. No pain, no gain. We must think more about the fault lines and fractures that underlie dominant male discourse, and we must re-examine what we understand by the voice of authority. Power is still considered a construct wielded by men. We have the digital advantage to challenge this norm, and indeed the support of men, because today we have an army of men who are indeed really progressive and joined to the cause of equality. So we have the digital advantage to challenge this norm by stubbornly elevating the image of authority as also belonging to women everywhere. And confidence is a key ally to this intention, and it is within reach. The confidence to communicate your accomplishments is even more valuable. Dare to be different. Cultivate authenticity, claim it, own it, and display it. Think less, act. Act it out. Report it or get others to do it for you. Leadership is more about what you do as it is about theater. My name is Rose Washuka, and I own every success that I have toiled to accomplish. I own my voice, and I will find platforms to normalize the public voices of women for as long as I am alive. When I fail, I will always remind myself that change is seldom given. One must take it. If not me, if not us, then who? This is my script. I act on it a little every single day. Build yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rose. Oh my God, that was a very nice discussion and presentation. You are giving me a very hard job here to summarize what you have said and presented. But in short, Rose has insisted that women still suffer from a massive setback from a patriarchy system, but at the same time, women should keep challenging these practices. Women should own their voices. Leadership is about action, not just theater drama. Confidence without competence, you can get away with that, but competence without confidence does not really matter. In other words, to seem more competent without confidence, you'll be more, people will think like you are incompetent rather than vice versa. So don't be afraid with the peer pressure, keep pushing. There's no failures in life, only lessons, and don't be fearful in self-promoting. So as of now, we are done with our panelists' presentations. Thank you very much for being with us till now. And now we are going to question and answer section. I've seen multiple hands. Who should we start with? Amina, are you here with me? Amina, have you recorded any questions? Yeah.
Not really. We don't have questions, but we have comments from attendees.
Okay, you are welcome to read them. As we wait other people to raise their hand and ask the questions. Thank you.
Okay. So we had a comment from Akelo Christine. Akelo Christine says she sends her sincere gratitude to all the panelists. She was cognizant of the fact that this webinar cannot solve all issues that we have as practitioners. So I believe she's a lawyer, advocate. She has advised we should take a step further to establish a forum where we can continue to access each other and share ideas with or without setting another webinar. We have comments also from give me a minute, okay. This is David Singano. Mr. President, I will not read your comment, but he says he appreciates us taking our time to join the webinar. We have a comment from Divine Nduguru. Sorry, let me read her name correctly. Divine Nduwimana. It was for Jeanne. She thanks Jeanne for her work, and she has read her novels and she found it very interesting and she's very proud of her. We had another comment from Ahurira Praise. She thanked us for this webinar and she thanked all the panelists for great ideas and for taking their time to create this, the ideas that were shared. We also have a comment from Gladys Maturo or something. I cannot see the end of this name. She said, hi, this was very informative session and thanks to all panelists. We have another message from Maria Matui. She said, thank you, Rose. This was insightful. And we have a comment from Joeria. She said, thank you, Macharia. I believe it's Macharia, although Macharia.
Okay.
And to all panelists, it was more of thank you for the relevance and timely webinar. Can we please have Rose Macaria's contact? Some people are asking for a contact. Basically that is, but we do not have any live questions at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Amina. Truly appreciate. It seems like people are very satisfied and agreeing with our speakers for today. So we truly appreciate that one. So I think we're approaching the end of our webinar, and therefore I would like to call upon panelists to give us their closing remarks in brief, starting with our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker, Honorable Judith Kapinga, you are welcome.
Thank you so much. I have a very brief conclusion, and I would like to quote one of my favorites, Jack Ma, who said, I believe if a person wants to be successful, they should have a high EQ, emotional intelligence. But if you don't want to lose quickly, you should have high IQ, intelligence. But if you want to be respected, you should have high LQ, Q of love. So those three Qs put together, a lot of men have a high IQ, a lower EQ, and a very tiny LQ. Women balance-wise are the best if you want your company to be successful. If you want your company to operate with wisdom, women are the best. I quoted this because all that we need to do for us women is to package ourselves. We can have all instruments, but if we are not able to package ourselves, no one will come for us. Creating branding, marketing, exposing our talents, working hard, exposing our potential are all factors that we need for self-promotion. We can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Judith Kapinga. We truly appreciate your presence here and the wise words from you. So I would also like to welcome Mr. Badru to give his closing remarks. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you again for giving me this opportunity. I would like to say I'm a proud father of two wonderful ladies. My firstborn just graduated and with a first-class degree. So really that made my day. But also crafted herself that she even had a job before she graduated. The message really I want to leave with you is we're in an interesting time where there's a lot of opportunities for women and young people. All of the programs going on are around that space. So take advantage of the time and be able to see what you can do. There's a lot of, every single project coming into the region is talking about young people and women. So this is a time that you can take advantage and do the things that everybody's talked about as women in the professional footing to actually get yourself better. That's about it. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed, and I would like to come back anytime you want me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Batru. Surely we will invite you next time. We truly appreciate your presence here. Linda, please welcome.
Thank you very much. I would like to also thank EL for the invitation to share on this panel. I've been blessed. One thought or one message I want to leave for the audience is Rwanda has been a case study for the role of women. It's evident, it's clear, women are at the forefront and the results tell for themselves. So if there is any doubt, Rwanda would be a case study to see what women can do. And I would encourage all women to maybe the nations around us to just give it a chance and see what Rwanda has done and how they have believed in women and how the nation has transformed. So that's the last word I would share. It's possible. When you empower a woman, you've empowered a community, a nation, and the results trickle down to everyone. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Linda. I would also like to welcome Jeanne Nduwayo. Jeanne Nduwayo, please welcome and give your closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very what connections is instable?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
No, I was watching what's happening to the connection.
Okay, now we can see.
I'm very happy for participating in this webinar, which is very important for me, and I think for Burundian who follow this webinar, it was very important for them. But I can't miss this opportunity to talk to these women, women that I found this webinar. I focused on literature, but now I can miss this opportunity. I want to ask a question to Kapinga and other women who talk on this webinar. I've found that Burundi, I don't know if it is like in your countries, women want to be in this and that, but I see other women want to sit and eat. They want to be like queen. What do you do in your countries? What can we do in our country to make women think and want to work so that we can reach in our country in Burundi? We have to reach the rate of 30% of women in some posts of management. So what can we do for women to rise up to work? Because women want to sit down and eat. Many women want to sit and be like queen. What can we do? This is a question asked to ladies who were on the webinars. I don't know if we have another opportunity to talk about it, because today I talked about literature, but now. So to finish, I am very happy and I thank you for having invited me to this webinar. Thank you.
Jeanne, thank you very much. Clearly, you are very passionate on what you do, and we can feel that energy too. So thank you very much, and you're always welcome in this platform. Now the next is Mr. Bol Maduti. Please welcome Mr. Bol Maduti, just briefly to give your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, the webinar was so interactive, it's so educative, and I encourage that it should not be the last. My message to my fellow colleagues, the Women Lawyers Committee, is that you should be seen as a role model for your other sisters. And we have a lot to do by picking up our professions. Whether we are lawyers or engineers, we have to contribute to our societies. The topic was so interesting, and we hope that we shall have more forums to discuss the most important issues that are going to impact positively on our society. Because of COVID, we may not have a chance to meet face-to-face in discussion, but still we have means of using social media and other media like the Zoom call that we are currently conducting. So Thank you so much, and let's continue to conduct the forum of the same nature so that we educate our people. And don't stop developing your talent that you are already a lawyer, there is enough, no, let's aim higher. And Rose mentioned something before which is so important, that leadership, whatever talent that you want to develop, you have to be seen in your leadership. So our expertise or skills should be seen in the results. Thank you so much, and we hope to have more discussion. Otherwise, the organizers were really able to keep times. We started exactly on the agreed time, and we end at the time that we are scheduled, because we have to manage the time. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, too. We truly appreciate your presence here from South Sudan. The last but not least, Rosie Wachuka Macharia, please welcome.
Thank you again for this opportunity to close. I think what I would say is that in terms of women accepting and owning their accomplishments, we still have a structural problem. And that structural problem is visible online and is visible in the way that we raise our girls, or even the platforms and the ways that we expect women to show up in the world and to even package their successes. But it's not all gloom, because we've had a lot of inroads. I think with the era of technology, we are able to see more results more rapidly. And the problem is more societal as it is innate. And the two are not mutually exclusive. So what I would challenge as something that I have applied myself is to keep pushing against those internal voices that say, tone it down, just be a little softer, don't be so aggressive, to just trust your gut and go against those voices and develop yourself as you move along, but you know, just beat the imposter syndrome. To the question about lessons for Burundian women, at the risk of generalizing, I would say that actually African women are given very little credit. So I think it's a narrative that I would, at an opportune time, invite us to re-examine, even as far as Burundi is concerned. Because what do we define as work? Because do we define informal, work as work, or do we only focus on formal work? My experience working across the continent is that women drive agriculture, women drive small-scale farms and businesses across the continent. Women also drive, cross-border trade in Africa, and we can fact-check with the CFTA Secretariat in Accra. And so I think it's just a question of narrative. How well do we know about, or how much do we know about women's contribution to the economy? Of course, there's a very well-crafted narrative, and this is all part of the broader structure to box women into certain roles and to only define success in a particular way. But success is resident everywhere, and I see it everywhere in the farms, in small-scale businesses, in the Jua Kali sector, in the informal sector, in childbearing and child raising. That is work. So again, I would love to engage in conversation about what work means and what it means for women and the statistics that we're relying on. But I wish you well, and thank you very much for this informative segment. And for those who are asking for my contacts, my Instagram account is open, it's Rose Washuka. Follow me on Facebook as well, send me a friend request. I'm trying to be very, very active. I do not think that social media and social assets are a waste of time. In fact, I think they are the assets of our generation to communicate and connect without any hindrances, despite the physical barriers we have across borders. Thank you very much, and Viva Africa.
Thank you very much, Rose. We truly appreciate. I think now we have a need to have a spin-off session regarding the same topic. That one we shall arrange with our technical team and then communicate with you all. Me and my co-host would like to express our gratitude to all participants for your participation and contribution to today's webinar. I would also like to express my appreciation to the panelists for their presentation, for leading this very insightful and informative discussion and clarification concerning the issues that most of us have been asking ourselves behind those. I would also like to thank ELS technical team for their dedicated efforts in making sure that this webinar is running smoothly. My appreciation also goes to ELS Women Lawyers Committee for their preparatory work and for organizing this fruitful webinar today. I also hope that the knowledge you have obtained in this training will sharpen your abilities to excel in your noble profession and make a difference. So you're all welcome, and now our webinar is marked closed. Thank you all.